Have you ever noticed how the moment someone pulls away, you suddenly want them more? It's not coincidence, it's psychology. That person who seemed average suddenly becomes irresistible the second they go cold. The friend who is always available becomes fascinating when they're busy. This isn't weakness. This isn't you being broken. This is your brain following ancient patterns that helped humans survive for millennia. Today, we're diving deep into the dark psychology behind emotional distance and why it creates magnetic attraction. I'm going to show you the brutal mechanisms your mind uses against you, backed by peer-reviewed research and neuroscience studies. More importantly, I'll show you how to recognize when it's happening. If you've ever felt more attracted to someone who treated you with indifference than someone who showed you genuine love, you need to watch this. Hit that subscribe button because what I'm about to reveal will change how you see every relationship forever. Reason number 1. The scarcity principle hijacks your brain. Let's start with one of the most powerful forces in human psychology: scarcity. Your brain is hardwired to assign higher value to things that are rare or difficult to obtain. This principle, extensively documented in social psychology research, explains why we tend to place greater value on things that feel rare or at risk of being lost. When our ancestors roamed the earth, resources were limited. The tribe that could identify and pursue scarce resources, rare food, shelter, mates, had a survival advantage. Your brain developed a shortcut. If something is hard to get, it must be valuable. If it's abundant, it's probably not worth the effort. Research published in Applied Psychology, an international review by Matone and colleagues in 2009, found that perceived scarcity consistently produces an attraction effect on consumer behavior, and this extends far beyond products into human relationships. Now, fast forward to modern dating. When someone is emotionally available, responsive, and clearly interested in you, your primitive brain reads this as abundance. This person is always here. They're not scarce. Therefore, they might not be high value. It's brutal, it's unfair, but it's how your neural circuitry works. The moment that same person creates distance, stops texting back immediately, becomes less available, seems occupied with their own life, your scarcity alarm triggers. Suddenly, their attention becomes a limited resource. Your brain shifts into acquisition mode. The same person you might have taken for granted becomes someone you can't stop thinking about. A 2013 study published in the European Journal of Personality by researchers Peter Jonassen and Norman Lee specifically examined playing hard to get as a mating strategy. They found that manipulating one's perceived availability as a mate can indeed increase attraction, precisely because it creates the perception of scarcity. When someone appears less available, others perceive them as higher value and more desirable. This is why the hard-to-get strategy actually works on a psychological level. It's not manipulation when it occurs naturally. It's someone living their own life, creating authentic scarcity. But here's what's important. Once you understand this mechanism, you can step back and ask yourself, am I attracted to this person or am I attracted to the chase? Do I want them or do I just want to win? Reason number 2. Uncertainty creates obsessive thinking patterns. Here's where it gets really interesting. A groundbreaking 2011 study published in Psychological Science by researchers Whitchurch, Wilson, and Gilbert made a stunning discovery. Uncertainty about whether someone likes you actually increases your attraction to them more than knowing they definitely like you. In their experiment, female college students viewed Facebook profiles of male students. Some women were told the men liked them a lot. Others were told the men liked them an average amount. The third group, the uncertain group, was told it was unclear how much the men liked them. The results shocked researchers. Women in the uncertain condition were most attracted to the men, even more attracted than women who were told the men liked them a lot. The uncertainty didn't dampen attraction, it amplified it. But why? When you know exactly where you stand with someone, when they're predictable, consistent, and transparent, your brain can relax. There's no mystery to solve. Case closed, move on. But when someone is emotionally distant, when their interest level fluctuates, when you can't quite figure out if they like you or not, your brain enters problem-solving mode. You start analyzing every text message, every interaction, every subtle change in their behavior. You replay conversations in your head, you ask your friends for their interpretation, you lose sleep trying to decode their intentions. This mental obsession feels like intense attraction, but it's actually your brain refusing to leave a puzzle unsolved. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect, a phenomenon first discovered by Russian psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik in 1927, which demonstrates that our minds are bothered by incomplete tasks and unanswered questions. The emotionally distant person becomes that incomplete task your brain desperately wants to resolve. Research from 2005 by Wilson and colleagues, published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, found that uncertainty following positive events actually prolongs pleasure and keeps people thinking about those events longer. The uncertain condition created more rumination, more obsessive thinking than certainty ever could. Think about it. When was the last time you obsessed over someone who made their interest crystal clear? Probably never. But that person who sends mixed signals, they're living rent-free in your head. The emotionally distant person, whether intentionally or not, creates this uncertainty, and your brain, desperate for closure, keeps you hooked in the hopes of solving the mystery. Reason number 3: intermittent reinforcement and the dopamine roller coaster. Let's talk about the neurochemistry that makes emotional distance so addictive. When someone is inconsistent, hot one day, cold the next, your brain experiences what neuroscientists call intermittent reinforcement, and it's one of the most powerful behavioral triggers known to science. Here's how it works. When you receive unpredictable rewards, your brain releases dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with pleasure, motivation, and desire. But here's the crucial finding. Dopamine spikes higher with unpredictable rewards than with consistent ones. The reward prediction error hypothesis, widely documented in neuroscience literature, explains this phenomenon. When outcomes differ from what we expect, particularly when we receive unexpected positive rewards, dopamine neurons fire intensely. Research published in Nature Neuroscience has shown that dopamine doesn't just respond to rewards themselves, but to the unpredictability of those rewards. A 2023 study highlighted in Mental Health Nathan's research review explains, each unexpected positive moment creates a positive reward prediction error, triggering a bigger dopamine spike than consistent affection ever could. When a partner returns after creating distance, dopamine surges. This intermittent reinforcement pattern is extraordinarily powerful, making unavailable partners feel intoxicating. This is the same mechanism that makes gambling addictive. Slot machines don't pay out every time. That would be boring. They pay out randomly, unpredictably. That uncertainty, that maybe this time feeling, floods your brain with dopamine. You keep pulling the lever, chasing that next hit. An emotionally distant person operates exactly like a slot machine. Sometimes they're warm, affectionate, and available. You get that dopamine rush. They do like me. Then they pull back. They're cold, unavailable, distant. Your dopamine crashes. You feel anxious, rejected. But then, just when you're about to give up, they reach out again. Another text, another warm interaction. Boom, massive dopamine spike. This roller coaster creates a powerful addiction cycle. The highs feel higher because the lows are so low. Your brain starts craving that next win, that next moment when they show you attention. You become hooked on the pattern, not the person. Research on reinforcement learning published in the journal Brain and Cognitive Sciences in 2024 continues to refine our understanding of how dopamine builds what neuroscientists call behavioral attractors, essentially goal states that your brain becomes motivated to achieve. The unpredictable person becomes that goal your dopamine system fixates on. Someone who is consistently kind, available, and affectionate doesn't create this roller coaster. They provide steady, predictable positivity. And while that's actually healthy and sustainable, your dopamine system doesn't find it as exciting. It's the difference between a stable investment and a risky bet. The risky bet feels more thrilling, even though it's far more likely to leave you broke. Understanding this neurochemical reality is crucial. That intense can't eat, can't sleep feeling you have for the emotionally distant person, it's not necessarily deeper love. It might just be your brain on a dopamine roller coaster, addicted to the unpredictability. Reason number 4. Attachment theory and distance activation. Your attachment style, formed in childhood based on how your caregivers responded to your needs, plays a massive role in why emotional distance might trigger attraction for you. This isn't pop psychology, it's one of the most extensively researched areas of relationship science. According to research published in Current Opinion in Psychology by Simpson and Overall in 2017, which reviewed decades of attachment studies, individuals with insecure attachment orientations show distinct patterns in how they respond to relationship stress and partner distance. If you have an anxious attachment style, emotional distance from a romantic interest activates your deepest fears, the fear of abandonment, of not being good enough, of losing connection. But here's the paradox documented in multiple studies. Instead of making you pull away for self-protection, it often makes you pursue harder. A comprehensive 2020 study published in the Australian and New Zealand Journal of Family Therapy by Conradi and colleagues in 2020 examined physical and emotional distance between romantic partners. They found meaningful associations between partner distance and attachment anxiety. Specifically, that anxiously attached individuals showed heightened arousal and pursuit behaviors when partners created distance. When someone creates distance, it unconsciously reminds you of times when love felt conditional or inconsistent. Your childhood brain kicks in, and you return to that state of desperately seeking reassurance and approval. The person who's distant becomes a chance to finally win the love that felt so uncertain in your past. This is why people often say they're attracted to emotionally unavailable people. Research published in the Journal of Personality by Overall and colleagues in 2008, examining attachment and attraction toward romantic partners, found that attachment-anxious individuals actually felt stronger attraction toward partners who were less available, while showing reduced attraction to consistently available partners. It's not the unavailability itself that's attractive, it's that the unavailability feels familiar. It recreates the relationship dynamics you learned as a child. Of course, this never works. Chasing someone emotionally unavailable doesn't heal your attachment wounds, it deepens them. But in the moment, the attraction feels overwhelming and meant to be. Even if you have a secure attachment style, emotional distance can still trigger attraction through a different mechanism, the challenge to your sense of desirability. When someone pulls away, it contradicts your usual experience of being wanted and valued. This creates cognitive dissonance, a mental discomfort that your brain tries to resolve by pursuing the person until they validate you again. Reason number 5, the fog of idealization. Here's a psychological phenomenon that doesn't get talked about enough. When someone maintains emotional distance, you fill in the blanks with your imagination. And your imagination is far more generous than reality ever could be. The less you truly know about someone, their flaws, their bad days, their annoying habits, the more space exists for idealization. Emotional distance creates a fog, and in that fog, you project your ideal partner onto them. They become a screen for your fantasies. Research on romantic attraction and relationship maintenance, published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology by Simpson and colleagues in 1990, found that committed individuals actually employ psychological mechanisms to derogate or diminish the attractiveness of alternative partners. But here's the twist. When someone is emotionally distant and not fully known, these derogation mechanisms can't activate properly. You can't accurately assess their flaws if you don't see them clearly. That mysterious person who doesn't text back, maybe they're just busy being extraordinary. Maybe they're helping orphans, or writing a novel, or building a business empire. Your mind creates narratives that make their distance meaningful, purposeful, attractive. Without evidence to the contrary, your brain defaults to positive assumptions. Compare this to someone who's emotionally available. You see them clearly. You know their flaws. You witness their bad moods and their mundane routines. They're fully human, which means they're imperfect. There's no mystery, no room for idealization. A 2011 study on the neural basis of attraction by Meyer and colleagues, published in Cognition and Emotion, found that when people in relationships were shown pictures of attractive alternatives, their brains showed reduced activation in reward centers. But this derogation effect only worked when they had complete information about the alternatives. Incomplete information, like what you have with an emotionally distant person, prevents this protective mechanism from activating. The emotionally distant person gets to remain a fantasy, and competing with a fantasy version of someone is impossible, even for their real self. This is why the moment emotionally distant people actually become available and close, the attraction often fades. Once the fog lifts, once you see them clearly, the projected perfection evaporates. Research on relationship development consistently shows that initial attraction based on mystery and idealization often doesn't survive the reality of sustained proximity. You realize you weren't in love with them. You were in love with your idea of them. You were attracted to the story your mind created in the absence of real information. Reason number 6, achievement drive and the challenge effect. Humans are goal-oriented creatures. We're motivated by challenges, achievements, and victories. Emotional distance transforms a person into a goal, something to be achieved, won, conquered. For many people, especially those with competitive personalities or achievement-oriented mindsets, the emotionally distant person becomes the ultimate prize. They're the locked level in a video game, the mountain no one else has climbed, the test of your desirability and worth. Research on mate value and attraction, published in various evolutionary psychology journals, has consistently found that perceived difficulty in attaining a mate can increase that mate's perceived value. This is the scarcity principle in action, but combined with our achievement motivation systems. Every small breakthrough, a response to your text, an agreement to meet, a moment of warmth feels like winning. It triggers your reward system and motivates you to keep trying. The difficulty of the pursuit makes the potential reward seem more valuable. This is particularly true if you're someone who's used to success in other areas of life. If you're accustomed to working hard and achieving your goals, an emotionally distant person who doesn't immediately fall for you presents an irresistible challenge. Everyone else finds me attractive. Why don't they? I need to figure this out. The challenge effect has been documented in social psychology research for decades. We value what we work for more than what comes easily. The effort we invest becomes part of how we value the outcome, a cognitive bias known as the effort justification phenomenon, first demonstrated in classic studies by Festinger and Carl Smith. But here's the problem. A relationship isn't a mountain to climb or a puzzle to solve. It's a partnership between two people who mutually choose each other. When you're pursuing someone because they're a challenge rather than because you genuinely connect, you're setting yourself up for emptiness even if you win. The question to ask yourself is, if this person suddenly became fully available and interested, would I still want them? If the answer is no, you're attracted to the chase, not the person. The psychology of breaking free. Research-based strategies. Now that you understand why emotional distance triggers attraction, let's talk about how to protect yourself from this psychological trap. These strategies are based on clinical psychology research and cognitive behavioral approaches. First, develop metacognitive awareness. Metacognition, thinking about your thinking, is a well-established cognitive skill that helps people recognize and regulate their mental processes. The next time you feel intensely attracted to someone, pause and analyze. Is this attraction based on genuine compatibility, shared values, and how they make you feel? Or is it based on scarcity, uncertainty, and the thrill of the chase? Research published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships has shown that individuals who can accurately identify their attachment patterns and emotional triggers make better relationship choices and experience higher relationship satisfaction. Second, notice patterns through behavioral tracking. If you consistently find yourself drawn to emotionally unavailable people while overlooking those who show genuine interest, you're not having bad luck. You're following a pattern. Cognitive behavioral therapy research shows that identifying patterns is the first step to changing them. Keep a relationship journal. Document who you're attracted to and why. Look for commonalities. This self-monitoring technique, well established in clinical psychology, helps break unconscious patterns by making them conscious. Third, practice self-worth cultivation. Build a life that's so fulfilling that another person's emotional distance doesn't create scarcity in your world. Research on self-determination theory by Dici and Ryan has consistently shown that individuals with strong intrinsic motivation and self-worth are less vulnerable to external validation seeking. When your self-worth comes from within, from your achievements, your relationships, your character, your pursuits, you're less vulnerable to manipulation by distance. You don't need someone's inconsistent attention to feel valuable. Fourth, make conscious relationship choices. Research by Eastwick and colleagues published in Psychological Science found that while initial attraction might be unconscious, relationship commitment and investment are largely conscious choices. Choose to invest in people who are emotionally available, consistent, and genuinely interested in you. It might feel less exciting initially, but longitudinal studies of relationship satisfaction consistently show that stable, consistent, positive regard is the foundation of lasting love, not the anxiety of chasing someone emotionally distant. The dopamine rush of uncertainty fades, the oxytocin bond of genuine connection deepens. Conclusion. Emotional distance triggers attraction through a complex web of psychological mechanisms, all backed by rigorous scientific research. The scarcity principle that makes rare things seem valuable. The uncertainty effect that creates obsessive thinking. Intermittent reinforcement that hijacks your dopamine system. Attachment patterns formed in childhood, the idealization that happens in the absence of real information, and the achievement drive that turns people into conquests. These are powerful, ancient forces that helped humans survive, but can sabotage modern relationships. The research is clear. What feels like intense attraction is often a neurochemical and psychological response to distance, uncertainty, and inconsistency, not genuine compatibility. Understanding these mechanisms doesn't make you immune, but it gives you the power to pause, reflect, and choose differently. The next time you feel that magnetic pull towards someone who's emotionally distant, you'll recognize what's really happening in your brain. You'll see the dopamine roller coaster for what it is. You'll recognize your attachment patterns activating. You'll notice when you're chasing a fantasy rather than knowing a real person. Real love, according to decades of relationship research, shouldn't feel like starvation with occasional scraps of food thrown your way. It should feel like a feast you're both building together. The person who's consistently there, who shows up, who makes their interest clear, they're not boring. They're brave enough to be vulnerable. And research shows that vulnerability and consistency are far better predictors of relationship success than mysterious distance. Choose connection over chase. Choose presence over distance. Choose the person who chooses you back, fully, consistently, without games. That's where the research shows real, lasting love grows. If this video opened your eyes to patterns in your own life, leave a comment below sharing your experience, and subscribe for more psychology content backed by real research that helps you understand yourself and your relationships at a deeper level.